Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now September 10th of 2023, and we know that Disney is going through a lot of major changes and adjustments as we speak, as the board and Bob Iger are going over their DEI agenda and how that's going to really spill into a lot of upcoming live-action remakes and reboots, as well as a lot of their Disney Plus content, be it Marvel or Star Wars. Everything is going to be upping the ante about that agenda. And exactly what's happening with Disney's view of exactly how their brands are going to be treated moving onwards. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's happening with Disney right now, revolving around the Snow White brand. Now, as you all know, Snow White 2024 is going to be a very ironic release, and the reason why I say an ironic release is that this is where Disney all started with their movies back in 1937. It could very well end in 2024, or at least severely damage themselves as a company when it comes to their live-action movies. And we already know that even their animated films like Elemental have been failing, and they just don't know how to escape the ongoing box office collapse one after the other. However, this is where matters get even worse. Now, we know that Bob Iger and the board are really trying to create a lot of damage control. They are trying to sustain Disney and exactly what's happening with all business models, right? We already talked about this happening with Disney Plus, with the merchandise, with the parks, etc., etc. However, when it comes to their overall plan now of remaking Snow White, this is where matters get even more severe, is that with Bob Iger getting ready to promote Snow White 24 in the very near future as they are getting closer to their marketing run for the film. However, one major development has much to do with Disney's new plan revolving around Snow White 2024 that is an absolute disaster. Specifically, Disney now has a plan to remake the entire film again. This was something recently agreed upon between the board of directors and Bob Iger after they axed and cancelled plans for a Snow White cinematic universe, with 2 prequel movies and a sequel to the 24 film that fell apart. The new strategy now by Iger is to embrace a full-fledged remake for Snow White with a brand new cast and a brand new story that will not only include more source material, but at the same exact time they will embrace their DEI agenda even further with this remake. Now, this film will have nothing to do with Rachel Zegler, as she was fired and removed from several Disney projects. Iger and the board are planning to announce their strategy for this new Snow White remake by the middle of 2024 after the film debuts in theaters. Now guys, let me just pause here quick before we get to the next big development about all of this, is that we kind of touched on this lightly last week, and given that Disney's sequel to the 24 film fell apart, even their prequel movies also fell apart quite drastically because Gal Gadot actually left those projects. It left them at a standstill on whether or not they should pursue those projects, and they ended up canceling them. So now their solution, a train wreck of a solution if I must add, is to remake Snow White again in the years to come. Again, like I say, they are planning to make this debut sometime in 2026 or 2027 to kind of just redo everything revolving around their take on Snow White. The only question I have is, why move forward with this? And why not just cancel Snow White 2024 altogether, save yourselves the headache, write it off, and just call it a day, and then remake the film and see how that, goes. That's what they should do, and even that is, something that they shouldn't do, to be honestly here. We know that anything that Disney makes is a disaster. It doesn't matter, nowadays in the 2020s, everything is nothing more than a woke disaster. That's the overall structure of Disney right now, and they want to even up the ante even further. This is all because of the board. It's because of BlackRock and Vanguard, some of the top shareholders out there that are funding this nonsense over to Disney. But I digress. Let's get into the further specifics about all of this that I feel are even all the more concerning about where they are really heading. Now look, I'm not defending Disney. I don't care what they do. If they want to keep doing this nonsense and if it brings them down to the ground, so be it. But at the end of the day, we would all like to just see entertaining material or content that just follows source material. You just have to actually follow common sense. That's all it really takes. Anyway, moving on. Now, Disney is reportedly doing this for two reasons: to overshadow the train wreck that is Snow White 2024, and to also experiment with what works and does not work when reimagining original fairy tales from their animated counterparts. The same exact thing is already being worked on right now for an Alice in Wonderland 2010 remake, as well as Maleficent getting rebooted. This will purely focus on new iterations of those characters, and for Snow White, it will be a new iteration of that character as well that will fully support their DEI agenda in the mix with all other characters. Bob Iger is also planning to also get a known actress this time around that will portray Snow White to boost ticket sales and to erase the upcoming bad memory of Snow White 24. However, regardless, this project will be counterproductive as it fully supports DEI once again to its maximum, as the board is doubling down on all of this. Now look, the whole system of diversity, equity, and inclusion, even equality, it takes away from the story, it takes away from the character development, it takes away from a writer being passionate. Because they hire these writers that are so agenda-driven, that are very much activists, that don't really care about source material. They don't really care about what really should be done, right? We already know that Disney likes to hire these types of creators, hence Leslie Headland of the Star Wars Acolyte series, which is a major problem, by the way. That's why I keep on saying that that show is going to fail, and it's going to fail hard. It's going to be one of the worst Star Wars additions in the past 10 to 15 years, I feel. So, here's the problem with this. Why remake this movie, and why even release Snow White 2024 if it's going to bring you so much damage to the point where you have to make a remake? It's just really, you know, it's much, you know, nonsense to me as to how Disney operates as a company. They're so mismanaged, so unorganized, and I feel like it's gotten to a point, and I know I keep saying this, where it's not about money, it's about sending a message to see what works and what does not work, what the audience will accept or not accept, and to kind of find a middle ground, perhaps. That's what they're trying to weasel in and what they're trying to figure out. There's no doubt about that. So, I think that once this trailer drops, you know, mark my words, once this trailer drops for Snow White 2024, they are really going to put the metal to the pedal, or the pedal to the metal, mind you, for this remake. Because this is something that is being worked on behind closed doors right now, and it is something that Bob Iger and the board have agreed on and are moving forward with to, like I said before, erase the memory of this Rachel Zegler-led Snow White movie. So anyway, guys, you know, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.